Participants Grant argues for gun ownership, emphasizing deterrence/self-defense and limits of restrictive laws. Mason argues against, emphasizing public health risks and modern causal estimates. Grant. Let's start with basics. If you raise the expected cost to offenders, you should see less crime. That's the logic behind right-to-carry laws, and there are studies showing reductions in violent crime when law-abiding citizens can carry. Add to that the practical reality of defensive gun use. People do stop assaults and home invasions. Even if measurement is noisy, the possibility of resistance changes offender calculus. Mason. The logic sounds tidy until you check the broader health picture. Guns in homes are associated with higher risks of homicide for household members and sharply higher risks of suicide. That's not a trivial caveat, it's the central risk channel. And when researchers use stronger causal designs in recent years, they typically don't see the rosy deterrence story. Some find that loosening carry laws increases violent crime, especially in big cities. Grant, you're bundling different questions. Suicide is tragic, but it's a separate policy lever. Safe storage, red flag laws, counseling on access. On crime, there's a long scholarly debate with credible work showing that allowing concealed carry doesn't spike violence and may lower murder or robbery. If the best we can say is mixed, then prohibiting ordinary people from defending themselves seems hard to justify. Mason. Mixed isn't a stalemate when the higher quality, more recent estimates point one way. And the household risk isn't a side issue, it's the main route by which guns translate into death. Intimate partner violence, impulsive self-harm, mistaken identity shootings. You can't policy slice those away and still call it a clean win for ownership. Grant. Then take the bundle approach. Keep ownership legal, require training for carry, promote safe storage, and hammer hard on straw purchases. Also remember that many restrictive measures underperform. Assault weapon bans and some high-profile policies haven't shown convincing crime reductions. If the aggressive restrictions don't deliver, why not empower the potential victim at the point of attack? Mason. Because the point of attack is only a sliver of the problem, and adding more guns can increase the ambient risk. Studies of everyday carry show that more guns in circulation can mean more thefts, more escalations, and more armed disputes turning fatal. The self-defense frame ignores the frequency of conflict, misreads, and domestic lethality. You're distributing a powerful tool into millions of chaotic human situations. Grant. Millions already own guns. The real question is whether law-abiding citizens carrying responsibly make things worse. In many states, permit holders have very low rates of criminal misuse. If your concern is theft or trafficking, go after thieves and traffickers. If it's domestic abuse, elevate enforcement and protective orders. Don't treat every would-be defender as a risk equal to the worst actor. Mason. It's not about treating everyone as equal risk. It's about what happens in the aggregate. You can have mostly careful owners and still see population-level increases in homicide or injury if a small share misuse or if guns are stolen. Public health weighs population effects, not just individual intentions. And we haven't even touched on racialized impacts. Stand your ground expansions increased homicides without clear public safety benefits, while also layering in inequities in whose fear counts. Grant. I'm not defending every law branded as pro-gun. Stand your ground is partly about prosecutorial clarity and can be misapplied. I'm fine scrutinizing it. My point is narrower. Responsible ownership and the option to carry can deter some crimes and allow self-defense when seconds matter. You don't fix car theft by banning driving. You fix it by hardening targets and punishing thieves. Mason. The analogy is off. Cars aren't designed to injure, guns are. And hardening targets at scale with weapons means more accidental shootings, more domestic lethality, more suicides where minutes of delay would have saved a life. When you zoom out, the risk ledger tilts negative. If you want fewer victims, proven levers are purchaser licensing, background checks with coverage, child access prevention, and violence interruption. Not ubiquitous carry. Grant. Some of those levers, like purchaser licensing, may reduce certain outcomes, but they also raise barriers for the poor or those far from ID services. If you insist on them, streamline access, free IDS, mobile clinics, instant background systems that don't deny on bad data. Ownership shouldn't become a privilege of those with spare time, cars, and credit cards. Mason. Agreed on friction reduction. But that's an argument for smart regulation, not for the idea that more guns make us safer. We should minimize needless burdens and implement policies that the preponderance of evidence links to fewer deaths. On carry, the modern evidence makes me skeptical. On household guns, the homicide and suicide data are blunt. Grant. Then maybe the landing zone is conditional. Ownership with rigorous safe storage norms, fast disarm procedures for domestic violence, and high training standards for carry. Focus carry on those who meet elevated thresholds. Training, background, demonstrated storage. Meanwhile, you keep the right intact for self-defense in the home. Mason. It's a start, but I'd still emphasize reducing overall prevalence where feasible, especially in high-risk contexts. Treat firearms like we treat cars. Licensing, insurance-like responsibility, mandatory training, persistent oversight, and fund non-police community violence reductions that have shown measurable impacts. Grant. I can live with accountability and training if they're implemented fairly and efficiently, not as backdoor bans. And we should be honest about what the research truly shows. There's credible work on both sides and plenty of uncertainty. That's all the more reason to pilot, measure, and iterate rather than legislate by slogan. Mason. On that, we agree. Pilot and measure, publish results, audit harms and benefits, and be ready to reverse course. My bet is that smarter regulation and fewer guns in volatile settings yield fewer funerals. Yours is that well-trained, responsible ownership plus targeted crime control yields more safety. Let's test both in the open. Grant. Deal. Set metrics up front. Homicide and suicide rates, theft of firearms, domestic violence lethality, defensive uses verified by police reports, and accidental injuries. If the data go your way, adjust policy. If the data show net benefits to ownership under strict standards, protect that space. Mason. That's the rational path. Less ideology, more evidence. In the meantime, we owe people the truth. Guns carry serious risks inside homes. Carry laws bring trade-offs, and no single policy will solve violence. We need layered strategies, not magic bullets. Grant. And we owe them agency, the ability to defend themselves within a framework that maximizes safety for everyone. Build that framework well and hold us to the numbers.